present to you a little bit about what we're doing law enforcement-wise here in Harford County. The sheriff's going to go first. He's going to give you a brief overview of the many different programs that the sheriff's office is involved in. We're going to talk to you a little bit about crime statistics. We're going to tell you a little bit about new and innovative ways that we're using data to police the community and keep Harford County safe. After that, each one of the chiefs, followed by the commander of the Maryland State Police Bel Air Barracks, will give you about 5 to 6 minutes about, talk to you a little bit about what's going on within their respective agencies. This evening, what I'm going to ask of the audience is if we can hold questions until the first hour is over, and then at the end of the first hour, at around about 7 o'clock, we'll go ahead and Ms. Tandra Ridgely, the Vice President of the Grassroots Steering Foundation, and I will come out in the audience and we'll be happy to take your questions of our law enforcement leaders up here. So without further ado, I will turn it over to the Sheriff, Sheriff Jeff Gillett.
He said that part about being brief. I don't know about that. So everything else he said seemed to be pretty spot on. We've allotted about 20 minutes for this, so I'm going to see what I can do. And I know Eric said to hold questions, but if I'm moving too quickly and I cover something and you say I didn't catch that, I have a tendency to speak quickly. So please just point at me, stop me, yell at me, throw something at me, and I will stop and answer, or at least clarify what I was talking about. This room is kind of a odd setup in the way we're structured, but we have a screen over here, and for the backside we have a screen over there, so everybody's leaving with their neck cricked in one particular direction by the end of the evening. And I apologize for the screen setup, but that's what the college has to work with here. They've done a great job for us, but that's just the way it is in this room. So basically, how is Harford County policed? And for some of this, it's going to be Policing 101. For some of it, it might be information you have never heard before. But basically, as the Sheriff of Harford County, the Harford County Sheriff's Office is your primary law enforcement agency across the county with countywide jurisdiction, including inside the 3 municipalities of Bel Air, Aberdeen, and Havre de Grace. And of course, Bel Air, Aberdeen, and Havre de Grace, each department is represented here tonight, has their own municipal agencies that provide police services within those jurisdictions. Out in the county areas, outside the municipalities, we share jurisdictions with the Maryland State Police, with Lieutenant Mullen and his people. The current agreement in the county is that the Sheriff's Office handles every 911 call on any county road. If it's on a state route, then we rotate calls with the state police. Any traffic accident that occurs on a state route is handled by the state police. Any county road accident is handled by the Sheriff's Office. So that's what our current MOU with the state police says, and I probably just took some of what Tim Mullen was going to tell you away from you. So that's how the county's policed. It is not exclusive to the Sheriff's Office or one agency. And in addition to those not represented, we also have our partners. There's another barrack that patrols outside on JFK Highway, State Police. The Maryland Transportation Authority Police have jurisdiction on that roadway as well. Natural Resources Police in the parks areas of the county. Aberdeen Proving Ground, as big as that is, also has its own police department. And we have our federal partners, of course. Recently this week we announced an initiative with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, working through our detention center. We have the FBI, Secret Service, all of which are providing services here in Harford County to one degree or another, working with your local or your county level law enforcement and the state police. How much crime, or at least a breakdown, 2015 is the last year that we have complete data for. But just so you get an idea on Part 1 crimes, the most serious crimes, the Sheriff's Office in the county takes about just below 69%, just below 70% of the overall reports of crimes that occur in the county. And this is either crime that we respond to, someone calls 911 and reports something to us, or we make an on-scene arrest. But any of these crimes that occur, the data is captured here. 69% is handled by the Sheriff's Office, 26% amongst the 3 municipal agencies, and then 5% from the state police. And again, that's 2015 data. Harford County population, again, maybe rehashing some information for some people. Our current population is about 255,000 citizens. The breakdown demographics, we have about 13.6% of that is black, and about 80.3% is white, with other being of other backgrounds or races that comprise 8.3%. For the sheriff's office, and I don't know if the chiefs have broken this out, but for the sheriff's office, our demographics, the employment, our agency is 86% white, 11% black, and 3% other. As you can see, not that far off of trying to be representative of the community as a whole. I will say our law enforcement, the face of the organization, the men and women who go out to the scenes, are not 11%. Our number there needs improvement, and we are working with some people here in the room on efforts to improve our recruiting and improve that number to make sure that those men and women who go out to scenes are more representatives of the community that we serve. So real quick structure on the sheriff's office. As Eric said, I am an elected official, so I'm elected every 4 years by the citizens of Harford County. I took office in 2014. I'm finishing up the second year of service. One of the things I did coming in was live up to a campaign promise, was to look at the structure of the sheriff's office. And when we came into office, there were 5 different bureaus within the sheriff's office. For an agency our size, we thought that to be much too big. We cut that back to 3. So we have patrol operations, which is basically your investigators, your drug investigators, your special operations like SWAT, and then your patrol, your 2 precincts, Northern and Southern Patrol. We have our Support Services Bureau, which is more of the admin, human resources, the training, everything that goes behind the scenes to support police operations. And then our Corrections Bureau, which oversees the detention center with the warden and a major out there. So we took 2 additional major positions. Through a whole realignment, we were actually able to return 8 deputies back to law enforcement services working the street and taking them out of administrative positions. And we've recently identified 2 others by civilianizing our evidence collection that will result in a total of 10 deputies being returned to patrol when we graduate the next class. 10 deputies back to patrol without hiring an additional law enforcement person, just realigning them. What's our focus at the sheriff's office? Obviously, being responsible for any crime problem, crime reduction, our community partnerships, recruitment, technology, and professional standards. And you'll see in a lot of these areas as we move through the PowerPoint, and a lot of these areas overlap. For our patrol force, and the next 2 slides kind of cover what is my mission statement as sheriff, what is our objective going forward. For patrol, it's focused and directed policing. The days of coming out and wandering around and waiting for a call for service is gone. We want to put police officers on the problem spots, on the individuals who are committing crimes in our neighborhoods, and be very specific. To give the analogy we've often used is we're not out there fishing with a net, trying to just loop up everybody. You've seen that kind of policing done elsewhere around the country. You'll hear other people talk about it's more precise, like fishing with a spear. Well, I use the analogy, it's like fishing with a microscope, because we're using technology to aid our efforts to focus in directly on the problem or the location, to put our assets there, because assets for everyone you will hear are very limited, to put our assets there and make sure we're using them to our maximum benefit in that crime reduction. And that patrol is supported by quality policing, strong investigations, and community involvement. And all this together will, and as you'll see, be very successful in our first year, reduce crime. The next few slides aren't meant for you to read or pull any data off of. It's just to give an example of how we're using technology and data to support our efforts at the sheriff's office and in working with our municipal partners and the state police. One of the first things we started doing was looking at our top 10 addresses. Where are we getting the most 911 calls? Pulling that data from the 911 center and focusing on how do we fix those problems. Not only are you fixing a problem, but you're also returning deputies to having more patrol time available, lessening their calls for service, their obligated time elsewhere, and freeing them up to go on other calls for service. So, for an example, the first one we dealt with, the first time we pulled our top 10 calls for service, it was a hotel down in Edgewood. And it resulted from an abundance of 911 calls. Does anybody have an idea why we were getting them? You had to dial 9 to get an outside line. So people were picking up the phone, dialing 9 to get an outside line, and accidentally dialing 911. So I forget the number of responses, but there was a crazy amount of responses that we had done to a hotel in Edgewood, Motel 6 in Edgewood, But just by going down, community policing, and Mike Krabs, the captain of community policing, is here somewhere. Where's he go? Oh, right here. Sent out one of our deputies of community policing, worked at the hotel. They changed that. I think they had about 8 to get an outside line. And all of a sudden, those 30-some calls disappeared. So that's just smart policing. It's just using technology, using the resources, and smart policing. And that's just an example of what this 10 addresses, our 10 top hotspots do. The next 2 slides coming out are of traffic and DUI enforcement. And again, the days of going out and sitting on a bar, because drunks are coming out of a bar, they're gone. It's not the proper way to police. Certainly if you have a specific report of an individual and a vehicle that comes out and you want to be there, that's specific. But this is the kind of data: date, time, week, hour, crash locations, arrest data, hour of the day group, just all the data that we can possibly compile using our crime analysts to figure out where we should deploy our deputies, where the municipal agencies should deploy their officers to get the best return, our best opportunity to remove more DUI offenders from the road. And you'll see we've also been very successful at that. And while doing that, also reduce traffic accidents, which we have not been more successful in the series, and I hope we are able to make some inroads there. This is just another slide showing how some of that data can be mapped and put out. So again, it's using technology, it's using data to deploy your officers in again, there's a limited number of them, in a manner most efficient. A tangled web. This is actually a chart from a link analysis, and again, you're not meant to read anything off of it, but this is, for example, the heroin issue that we're facing in Harford County. This is what the crime analysts do. The days of finding one individual, either a user or a seller, and following that individual to see who he meets with are over. Using technology, using some of the information that's out there through social media or other technology devices, our analysts can now link different individuals together, and that's how we bring down trade organizations through our task force, working with the task force again, which is a partnership between the Sheriff's Office, all 3 municipal agencies, and the state police, and the DEA, and the state's attorney's office. And while I'm thinking about it, Joe's retiring this year. 30, how many years, Joe? There's no more crime, there's plenty of crime. But after 30-some years of being the state's attorney, and I did 28 years with the state police before fortunately becoming sheriff, he's the only state's attorney I've ever known, and he is a great asset to this county. We hate to see him go, but we wish him all the best in his retirement. But these are the kind of cases that our investigators work. They put these kind of relationships together. It's a great deal of manpower and obligated time from the investigators to work a case like this, pull it down, take it to the prosecutor, and get convictions. But again, you can see it's using data and technology to assist us. This is a heroin map. I get this every week, which currently, unfortunately, we are at 230 non-fatal overdoses as of this Monday, with 37 overdoses being fatal. So the last year's, we've increased last year's number by about 10 of the loss of life, and we haven't even got to the end of the year. So again, using the data that we can, the red dots are fatals, the blue dots are non-fatals, to try to deploy our drug task force, our investigators out to the areas where we are seeing a pattern of heroin overdoses pop up. We recently signed an agreement with the Upper Chesapeake Health System that now provides us even more data. It's going to give us the data that the hospitals, if someone self-presents to the hospital, somebody drives an overdose victim to the hospital, that's not something we would have found out about before. With the new agreement, we will now find out about that. That was legislation that did not succeed, but working with the hospital, we were still able to get most of what we were looking for. So what are we doing? We're taking all this data and technology and new policing strategies to the street. So what are we seeing? I'm happy to say that in our first year, Part 1 crimes fell 12.19%. And as you see, the red part, I know it's hard to read from a distance, is the municipal agencies. They all had success in their numbers falling. and in the sheriff's office with the blue, our numbers came down notably. What is up out of part ones, and part one is your murder, your rape, your homicide, aggravated assaults, arson, thefts and larcenies. Did I miss any? Of all of them, everything was down in 15 other than thefts and larcenies, which were up by 18%. And it's a shame, but we know some of that is being driven by the heroin epidemic, people stealing to support their habit. And we know that we're out there doing a better job taking the reports. And we also credit our partnerships with businesses working through our alert group, which is area law enforcement and retailers working together, a group that we founded, working with that group on getting a better reporting and a better arrest number coming out of some of the businesses. They're getting hit quite often. One other thing that contributed that I thought would really hurt us in our first year is that we changed the domestic violence policy at the sheriff's office, where before a report was not required in a domestic incident or not necessarily in all domestic violence incidents. We changed that to mandatory reporting. We saw more than more than 130% increase in the reports of domestic violence in the first few months following that change. And that would reflect here in an aggravated assaults. That leveled out towards the end of the year when people realized when the deputy came out to a scene, we were going to take it serious. And if charges needed to be preferred, they were going to be preferred. So we expected that number really to go up last year. And by the end of the year, seeing the decline, it was a credit to the men and women of the sheriff's office and also to the municipal agencies, as everyone contributed to the reduction. We did that. We enjoyed that reduction with just a slight increase in overall arrests. And again, the local agencies each had a slight increase, as did the sheriff's office, if you can see the chart, but overall 5.24% increase in arrest. I told you about our emphasis on the DWI arrest at the sheriff's office, and this is just sheriff's office data alone. We saw a 39% increase in the number of DWI drivers. We were doing a better job deploying our personnel, focusing on the problem spots, and making those arrests. Some people were talking about there's less drunk drivers on the road, there's more education, there's more this, there's more that. They're still out there, and they're still taking lives. We're doing a better job at the sheriff's office, and I'm very pleased with that number, making an impact in that area. Citations, again, it's up. We're not measuring success on the number of tickets that are written. I really don't care. I want to reduce accidents, and I want to save lives. But again, what we have seen is just a marginal increase in the number of citations that are written. If a citation fixes something, then it takes a ticket. If a warning fixes the infraction, then it takes a warning. Again, I'm pleased with the results that we've seen. We still need to do a better job on the accidents around the county, and it is a very crowded. Driving here tonight, anyone sat in 22? We saw people coming in that were probably sitting on 22 for a little while. So we realize that those engineering type of problems there is no quick fix. But I'm very pleased again with this number that there was no need for it to be greater. Some of the community outreach programs we have at the sheriff's office, a few of these we have started since I came in office. Some of them existed ahead of time, but every one of them so important to the sheriff's office reaching out to the community. First and foremost, I'm the first sheriff and the only sheriff in the state that I know of that has taken such an active role in the legislature. And one of the ways I did that was to hire Eric Roby. Where'd you go? He's now in the back of the room as my community and legislative director, who a lot of the things that we're battling, a lot of different fronts, particularly on heroin, we're taking those battles to Annapolis in the legislature and trying to get smart bills passed. Our Citizens Police Academy, which is held in spring. Is the advertising going up yet for that, Christy? Citizens Police Academy?
Usually start in January.
Okay. Sometime in January that'll go out, and that's a multi-week program where you can come in for 2 to 3 hours on average a session. I think it's 15 sessions, and you can learn everything about the sheriff's office. You'll get to see over the course of those weeks, you'll get to see CID, you'll get to see SWAT, you'll get to see K9, you'll get to see crime scene processing, you'll get to see the patrol precincts. So you'll get a better understanding than we can cover here tonight in the time allotted of what your sheriff's office does and what the men and women of the sheriff's office do every single day, including the detention center and the tour there. Didn't mean to leave you out, Mike. We've done, through community policing, we do our business and home security surveys. We've done videos. Some people have probably seen our traffic videos here recently. That was another bill that we tried to get through Annapolis, and although the bill didn't pass, it didn't stop us from doing the right thing, which was still to produce some videos and getting them out about how police-citizen interactions on a traffic stop are going to go most safely for everyone involved, for the officer and for the individual stopped. We have our police foundation. Butch Tilley is currently in the back of the room. He's currently the president of the police foundation at the sheriff's office. Coffee with the sheriff, which involves me getting out a few times a year and at a local coffee shop, one of my vices, and sitting down and having coffee with anyone who wants to spend the morning with us. Sheriff's Youth Academy is for high school age children to come in and spend a week with us. We run 2 sessions each summer to spend a week with us, and they'll also get exposed to the different things that the sheriff's office does. And that, if you have a high school age child, what a wonderful program. That's something before becoming sheriff I didn't know as much about. It's one of the more impressive things I am after becoming the sheriff, seeing these young men and women come up there and the change that takes place in them in a week. And we do that down at Harford Glen, again, twice a year. Criminal justice clubs in our high school, our school resource officers, our badges for baseball, our Boys to Men basketball with Pastor Reeves, and not even on the list, our Christmas drive, which is currently starting up to help needy families in Harford County, National Night Out, which we all participate in, our teen court program, which takes young offenders of non-serious, non-violent crimes and gives them a chance to keep their record clean by going through the teen court program, where they're actually judged by a judge, but the jury is a group of their peers who have gone through the program themselves. Our Hope Group, which is my heroin overdose prevention effort, which is a group of volunteers made up of public health professionals, clergy, citizens, family members who have lost loved ones. And they're the ones that are coming up with some of the innovative ideas that we are using, really working with the county and the county executive, probably leading the state on many of our heroin prevention efforts. And then the Alert Group, which I spoke about, our retail theft group. Some of the legislative and policy changes that we've seen this year, I know I'm running along on time. Legislative and policy changes that we've seen a lot this year around the country toward police. I am very thankful as your sheriff that we do not, and I think it's because we do a good job. I give my predecessor, we don't see eye to eye on a lot, but I give him credit for having good community outreach, and I've said my effort is to grow what was started, not to change direction, but to do better than before. So we don't have a lot of the issues in Harford County that we're seeing around the country. I don't want a lot of the issues that we're seeing around the country here in Harford County. But we still had some legislative reaction this year. We were down there involved in different processes. But everyone heard about House Bill 1016 and the changes that it was bringing to law enforcement. So I'm going to cover a couple of the changes. I know a lot of this is going to come up with questions and answers. But one of the things that changed was before, if an officer was accused of something, law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights provided that officer with 10 days to retain counsel before they could be questioned. 1016 changed that from 10 days down to 5 days. It changed the brutality complaint prior to House Bill 1016. In order to file a brutality complaint against a police officer in Maryland, it had to be sworn to, the sworn statement had to be notarized, and it had to be done within 90 days. The legislature has changed that to 366 days, a year and a day, and has done away with the requirement that it be sworn to and notarized. In addition, it's not only the individual who is the victim of the perceived brutality, but anybody can complain on that person's behalf. Any witness to it can complain, and that every law enforcement agency has to post their policies online for public review. So we've done that at the sheriff's office. I think most agencies are still working through trying to get that. That was a big technology push with very little notice. I know we have met that deadline with most of our policies up. What we've done at the sheriff's, and there's some other aspects to 1016, but those were the big changes that came about. What we have changed at the sheriff's office since I became sheriff, the big one, we had about $1 million left in unspent salaries at the end of my first year, and we were able to convert that. The camera system, the in-car camera system, had pretty much gone by the wayside. They were either not in the cars. If they were in the cars, they were broken, non-functional, and the system was outdated. So far, we've spent that year and this year $2 million something, outfitting all the cars, sergeant and below, with in-car camera systems, state-of-the-art. Camera in the front, camera in the prisoner cage, so that we can see everything and we can review everything. Big investment, but I can tell you there have been several issues already, complaints that have been brought up that simply pulling up the camera have answered the questions, either of the complainant or alleviated any concerns that we may have had. You will see, I think you'll eventually see all law enforcement in the country wearing body cameras. Right now, I just told you I spent more than $2 million on these cameras. The expense is what scares me out of buying that. Who's going to pay for it? So I'm waiting to see if Annapolis, I think it's a good thing, and we'll eventually get there, but I don't have the money in my budget, and it is going to be a big budget expense when it comes around. Not just the initial camera purchase, but the data storage that's needed to store. We're storing 10, 15 minutes of a traffic stop. Cameras are going to store 8 hours of a police officer's day, or 10 hours, or 12 hours. So the storage needs are going to be huge. And one of the, going to be huge. I didn't mean to make that reference in any other way, but it struck a chord in my mind. The storage needs are going to be great, and we had to upgrade our server with the cameras at the cost of another $800,000. So that's just for the in-car cameras. I can't imagine, we haven't priced out the body cameras, but they are going to come in time, and I don't know, I'll let the other speak for themselves. I am not opposed to them whatsoever. The other things we changed was a complete revamp and a rewrite of all our internal affairs policies at the sheriff's office. We included an early warning system, which is also required under House Bill 1016 that each police department has some sort of system. We did not at the sheriff's office prior to this. And what that is a order that kind of outlines things to look for. A number of complaints, a number of departmental accidents, a number of unfavorable job reports, and when you get to a certain total of each one, that kind of triggers an alert that, hey, maybe something's going on with this police officer, maybe they need to be pulled aside and checked and see if everything's all right at home, if there's any issues. So that's what's behind an early warning system. So we have that in place now. Alternative disciplinary process. Often officers make simple, dumb mistakes. This is for non-serious offenses where they can be brought in and without a complete investigation, without even getting into the 5 or 10 days, said this is what the accusation is, we believe it to be true. You want to say anything or you want to accept the punishment, they can get the case resolved. They don't have to deal with the stress hanging over their head, and our internal affairs investigators can stay concentrated on more serious issues. Excuse me. And final thing we brought into the sheriff's office was the disciplinary matrix. Uniform discipline for similar acts. So if someone commits a minor infraction, they don't have to fear losing their job. If someone commits a serious infraction, they know the repercussion for that is losing their job. And I'll give the example of integrity. Telling a lie is a category E violation in the matrix. No one can say they weren't told that if they tell a lie, if they're not honest with me, that they're not going to lose their job, because that's the only answer I have. If I can't trust you on the street, if I can't trust your word, I can't use you on the street, I will seek to fire you. And unfortunately, we've been down that road since I've been sheriff, but we now have it in writing in our matrix. And the last thing, I spoke a little bit, we changed all the domestic violence policies, so there's another changes, but we also changed domestic violence policies for how it applies to if officers are involved, sheriff's office officers are involved with domestic violence incidents or domestic incidents at all. So all this put together, how do we judge if we're being successful? Some of it is just in the numbers alone. Some of it is in community feedback meetings like this. And we actually reached out to Towson University, the extension up here across the street, and worked with them on doing a survey on some of our responses from the fourth quarter of 2015. And I'm pleased to say, if you can read those numbers, I will read them for you. Some of the findings, they had a very good return rate, which was much above what they normally see on different surveys, so they were very pleased with that. And 87% were very satisfied, were fairly satisfied with the dispatch center, which does not fall into the sheriff's office. If you call 911, that is a responsibility of county government. The dispatch center up in Hickory, it was part of the survey, but it doesn't reflect on the sheriff's office, but it did very good numbers. 83.6% were very satisfied, were fairly satisfied with the responding deputies' response. 75.4% were very or fairly satisfied with their overall experience interacting with a member of the sheriff's office, and 81.8% had an overall very favorable or very favorable opinion of the Harford County Sheriff's Office. Those are good numbers. But of course it did show us, and I'm pleased to show us, some area for improvement, such as victim assistance, crime prevention, and follow-up. And follow-up is one that we've taken particularly serious, and we have changed that procedure. It wasn't uncommon before if a deputy came out to your scene and took a report for, say, a damaged mailbox or minor theft or something like that, that you would see the deputy on the initial report. He or she would take the report, and they'd be gone. That'd be the end of it. There's now follow-up in all those cases. We at least touch base back, make some effort, reach back to see if additional information has been developed. It may seem, and some of the deputies, I'll be frank, some of the deputies think this is extra work that's not fair to lay on them. To a citizen, if you're the victim of something as simple as a mailbox destruction, you've been victimized. It's important to you. We might handle hundreds of them, but that's the one time it affected you, and it's important to you, and we want to do everything we can. Being quite honest, most of them aren't going to be solved, but we want to do everything we can to try to solve it and at least make the person feel better about their interaction with their law enforcement. And the last thing I want to touch on, and I haven't given any presentation since February, where I haven't touched on the loss of our deputies earlier this year. This is part of why I think Harford County, I knew it was special beforehand, and I hate to say the words that anything good could come of losing Pat and Mark that day, but what we saw, the response we saw from Harford County, and that's all of Harford County, that's all of our citizens, was just love and support, unparalleled. And I hear from so many chiefs and sheriffs across the country, we would not have seen that here. And I thought we were special before. Harford County proved to me how special they were in the days and months after losing Pat and Mark. And I thank you, being part of Harford County, I thank you all for that. So that is it for me. Does anyone else have a PowerPoint?
No.
So I'll let each chief present, and then we will move on to the questions.
Yep. My son's grabbing some water for me. When I speak, I get dry real quick, and the college just bought some water, and so he's coming up in a minute. I just want to say I'm very grateful to be here. I thank the sheriff for asking me to speak today. I do a lot of speaking in our community, but I don't really get the chance to speak to a group such as this where I have participants throughout the county. Mayor McGrady and councilmen are here today. I want to thank them for showing up and for all the support they give the police department on behalf of the Aberdeen Police Department. I'm glad to be here tonight. The sheriff asked me to speak a little bit for a few minutes tonight about what we do in Aberdeen and what we feel our successes are. Aberdeen is probably the most diverse community, I think, in Harford County. It has its very own special issues and problems that we have to deal with. It takes a special kind of policing. And if anybody here, I know Miss Ridgely's here, years ago, there were some issues between the public and the Aberdeen Police Department. And we had one of our goals about 5 years ago when I took over as chief of police, and it was started earlier by Chief Rudy, was to establish a better rapport and to earn the trust of the citizens of Aberdeen. And it wasn't an easy job, but we knew that we had to put forth the effort to go out and try to obtain that trust. So the first thing we did was we looked at community policing. Everybody hears the words community policing, but we realized that community policing to us is a philosophy that had to be embraced by everyone from the crossing guard to the chief of police to the civilian and all sworn employees. It's just not a guy that I put in charge of community policing and say, all right, you're community policing, go ahead and do the job. It's something we do every day, on every call, on everything we do. Every time we make a contact with the person, no matter who they are, how serious or how non-serious the call is, we treat them with respect, and we try to learn, resolve that issue. But not only that issue, we look for other issues in the area that we can resolve that they may want to talk to us about. And that's really big on the developing partnerships and relationship with the community, that you learn from them what the issues are in that particular neighborhood. Aberdeen's made up of a lot of different neighborhoods that have their own problems, special problems, that need special solutions for each neighborhood. Like I said, it's a very diverse community. There's some communities, there's no stores in the area. People and they don't have vehicles. They have to walk to Route 40 to buy milk or cereal for their kids, and they can't make it to the shopping centers. So we have to deal with a lot of diverse stuff. So we began with training our police officers. We had to start there. Zilpha Smith is here in the audience, and she's worked with me with a lot of our progress and building solutions and partnerships. I appreciate you being here. But we had to teach our people what community policing meant, what it really was, and what it really means. The basic meaning of what I think community policing is. We are part of the same community. Just because we're the police officers doesn't mean we're not part of the community. We are part of what you are, except for the fact that we're enforcing the law. We're wearing the uniform. That's the only difference. So we need to all work together to resolve the issues for all of us, treat each other with respect. So we had to teach our officers, we need to, when you go out on a call and you meet with whoever it is, you have to understand what the problem is. You have to work with them to resolve it. And you have to remember that their problem could be anything from, the pothole in the street that never gets paved, the lights are out, and because the lights are out, crime is in the neighborhood, or the drug dealers are sneaking behind the store because there's no lights over there. Normally not a police issue, but we make it a police issue. Because we might not be up there on a ladder fixing the light, but we know who to call to get the light fixed. So all of that's very important to us. All of that builds the relationship with the community that works for us. And what we found through the years of concentrating on these relationships and partnerships is that when crimes occur, it's the citizens and the residents who are eyes and ears, who are the witnesses, who come forward to us to help us solve the crimes. That's why our clearance rate is so high recently. We've had some serious crime in Aberdeen, but we were able to solve those crimes in a matter of days, not because we're such great cops, which I think we are, but because the community stood up, called us, let us know what was going on, and we were able to make quick apprehensions. Now, 10 years ago, that would have never happened. Now it does, because they feel confident that they can talk to the police, they can have conversations with us, and we are going to react to them to help them have a better neighborhood. Everybody wants their kids to be able to walk to school, go shopping without walking in front of a drug dealer, getting harassed by drug dealers, or afraid of getting robbed. Everybody wants the same thing for their kids. And that's what everybody in our communities want. So it's up to us to provide that for them. We have to make sure that every day that we're out there, that we are looking to serve our people to make the quality of life better. Everyone deserves to have a really good quality of life, and that's what us at the Aberdeen Police Department, I'm sure my partners up here all agree, is what we try to do every day. And when you're building trust, it's just not with the community. Neighborhoods, you have to talk to nonprofits, the faith-based community, business leaders, everyone in the neighborhood itself. We all have to come together and have conversations and develop those relationships. We need to talk about what the issues are and how to solve them. I don't have all the answers, but the people in the audience out here today, I'm sure you have answers that are issues in your neighborhood that maybe the police aren't thinking about, that you can bring up to them to help them resolve those issues. You may be able to bring up problems that we don't even know about, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking to all work together to find problems and find quick solutions. And I think in Aberdeen, that is probably what we've strived to do in the last, really for the last 5 years, is to get out there and let people know who we are. We have a lot of events where we visit the neighborhoods, and we bring our grills out. We have hot dogs, hamburgers, and we have gifts for all the kids, and we set up all our vehicles, and we go to each neighborhood. We're not in uniforms most of the time. We're in polo shirts and khaki pants, and we're just regular people out there, serving hot dogs and hamburgers and ice cream. And you'd be surprised how many people will come out and just sit down, bring their lawn chairs out, and sit with us, and just talk about everyday things. And then we build that relationship with them. Kids hang out with us all day long, and they're enjoying the food, they're enjoying the games. Our police officers play games with them. When we leave that day, and we come back the next day, we're driving down the neighborhood, they know who we are. They know our first names sometimes. They wave to us. They remember us at the next meeting. And when we get that call for service because mom and dad are having an issue in the house, or there was a crime out front, the kid in the neighborhood can walk up to Officer Smith or Officer John and tell him what's going on and explain to him, and then we can actually get something done. And I said nothing feels better than when you go into a neighborhood that you knew was dysfunctional before, and now over a period of time, things are just kind of working, and the people wave to you, and you have good conversation. I'm not saying everybody waves to us. I'm not saying everybody likes us, but that's what we're working on. That's what we're trying to do. There are more good people out there than there are the few bad. There's a small percentage of the bad guys. Most people are good people, want good things for themselves and their family, and that's what we're striving to do. I think that's what we need to concentrate on, and we do our share of writing tickets and doing all that stuff, but what I found is right now the most important thing, at least for the citizens of Aberdeen, is the relationship between the police and the citizens. And I think once you connect with the people, with the citizens, and once they connect with you, it makes my job a lot easier. It gives them a better feel for their neighborhood. It gives everybody just feels safer. At least the fear of crime, we believe, is down. And we while working together, we just make it a better place to live. And I think that's very, very important. And sometimes in law enforcement, we forget that. We can throw words out there all the time, community policing, this, that, whatever. But what really matters is getting out there, talking to people, getting to know what they want you to know, getting to know how they feel, and actually doing something about it, not just giving lip service. And that's something that we've really tried to concentrate on. And like I said, the biggest way we're doing that is just being out there. On any given weekend, you can see myself or members of my department out talking to the public, setting at every community event. We're there no matter who puts it on, whether it's the fire department or private enterprises. We're there. We're meeting with people. We're talking to business people. We're getting ideas from them, and it's a community. I feel like we're building a better community, and that's what it's all about. Community policing is about being a community, not us and them. It's all of us together. I live in Aberdeen. Most of my guys live in Aberdeen. Our kids go to school in Aberdeen. We want Aberdeen to be the best place there is possible. And the only way to do that is to practice what you preach, treat everyone with respect, and then you get respect back. And I believe that that's something that's good that's happening in Aberdeen. I talk this all the time when I'm throughout the city speaking, and we really get a lot of good feedback lately. But there's room for improvement. It's something we have to work on every single day. It's something we have to work on with every recruit, and something we have to reinforce with guys who've been there for a while. That what our job is and how we do it. And just recently, in the last year, we've to enhance our operational business, we went and were certified through the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement. And it's a gold standard for policing, and what it does is it keeps the police department completely accountable for what they do. And as the sheriff said, there's a new bill out that requires new police reporting. Well, we've already been doing that. We've already been taking care of that. We've already been doing that for about a year now. And when you can hold your people accountable every single day to what they do and how they do it, and correct what they do, it makes for a better police department, and we're proud of that. We're proud of who Aberdeen Police is right now. We've been trying to build our brand over the last few years, and I don't know if anybody here lives in Aberdeen, but if you do live in Aberdeen, anybody here living in Aberdeen, can you see a difference? I hope you can. If you can see a difference in your policing, and I'm glad to hear that, because it's an effort we're putting out. It's something we will keep doing, and I'm proud of what we're doing, and I'll be glad to take some questions later on the specifics of how we're doing it and what we're doing, and that'll be it. And thank you, Ms. Ridgely, for all your help too. I appreciate it. And I just want to mention one more thing. We don't often sit up here all together, but we really are a team. The law enforcement in Harford County, we really do work together well. Well, we get together quite often. We all know each other. If any of us has a problem, we know we can call on each other. And I think that's rare in policing throughout the country. Harford County is very lucky to have, and any police officer here you can ask. We're very rare. It's very rare in the country where all the law enforcement agencies get along very well. And I know in Aberdeen, if I make a call like that, I can get whatever help I need. I just want to say, guys, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. And I just want to remind, I know everybody has some questions out there, and I've talked to a number of you as you were coming in. A couple more minutes. Each one of these gentlemen will probably talk for about 3 to 4 to 5 minutes, just give you a brief overview of their department, and then we'll go right into the questions, I promise you.
3 to 4 minutes?